Welcome back to the last in the Mummy series, The Tomb of the Dragon Emperor. And made 7 goddamn years after the last film, the quality, or lack thereof, definitely shows. And it's still called The Mummy despite not actually having a mummy in it, because branding is far more important than making sense. So let's take a look at Crouching Tiger, Hidden Mummy. You remember the theme music to The Mummy? The one that had a lot of Egyptian style to it? This is what this film gets. Wonderful generic as fuck action-adventure music, isn't it? Without a shred of Chinese influence. This is going to go fantastic. As is the style with these films, we start with backstory on our bad guy, the Dragon Emperor, played by Jet Li, who's currently engaged in a massive civil war. And because you don't hire Jet Li without getting your money's worth, we're told that assassins tried to kill him and he just Jet Li's them to death. Which really had fuck all to do with anything. And throwing the knife into the map, he indicates where to attack. Notice the Great Wall of China? Yeah, that's not been built yet, and makes no sense for being on a tactical map. If you need more proof that Jet Li's a wrong'un, we see his army destroy a town, and then he personally orders executions. But apparently that's not enough. No, because he goes on to build the Great Wall of China with slave labour, and even dumping bodies into the foundations for good measure. So yeah, no mention of the Great Wall being made to keep out the Mongol horde. And the real Great Wall, having not been made with slave labour or built on the bodies of the dead, makes you wonder if the filmmakers wanted to say something else about China. It's not like the Great Wall is one of China's most well-known and beloved landmarks or anything. Also, because they can't use the same excuse they used to give Imhotep his superpowers, Jet Li just learns magic, like a fucking cookery course, making him pretty much unstoppable. But because we know,
I'm nobody's bitch,
Jet Li wishes to find a way to conquer death, which sounds like a bad idea already, but he sends his most trusted general to find a witch who knows a way to cheat death. The witch doesn't know the secret to eternal life, but she knows where to find it, and Jet Li, giving the audience his most pervy smile, tells the general the witch is off limits, and is his, which is nothing like an Aksunamun. The general and the witch find what they're looking for, something called the Oracle Bones, which is a big book because the last 2 films had mystical books, so this one needs one too. To give the film some credit, Oracle Bones were part of an ancient Chinese magic. However, they were nothing like they're shown here, of course. Oracle Bones were turtle shells or ox bones that had Chinese characters written on them, and they were placed in a fire, and cracks would form on them which would supposedly tell the future. Now isn't that far more interesting than a generic book of spells? But let's be honest, generic is the name of the game here. Then the general and the witch have sex, because of the magic of love or some fucking thing. The witch pleases the emperor and he gives her whatever she wants, which is to be with the general, naturally. And after giving the emperor what he thinks is immortality, he takes her to see the courtyard where the general has been tied to horses. Yes, do what he says and save yourself. Even though that wasn't part of the negotiation. The emperor orders the general killed and then stabs the witch, which is when the witch's curse activates. Oh no, he's got the dreaded Willy Wonka curse! And then he's baked into a statue and his entire army is turned into the terracotta warriors, basically. Well, wasn't that an overly long, drawn-out bit of bullshit of an opening? Quite different to the comparatively short opening to the first film. That got to the fucking point. After the opening titles, we're reintroduced to our gunslinging action-adventure hero, Rick O'Connell, who's fly fishing, which he's clearly terrible at and is hating every second of. Nice to know that's how the great prophesized warrior of the Magi and mankind is spending his retirement. And then O'Connell just says fuck it and starts shooting all the fish he can. Why the hell did he bring the guns? Next up is Evie at a book reading, and you want to know what it looks like when a filmmaker kicks fans in the teeth?
Is the Scarlett O'Keeffe character really based on you?
Honestly, I can say she's a completely different person.
That wasn't funny. Just because you highlight your deficiencies doesn't make them any less deficient. And yeah, officially Rachel Weisz didn't appear in this film because she didn't want to spend so long in China away from her son. But unofficially, it's because she didn't like the script, which I find very believable. At home, O'Connell and his new wife, sit down for an agonising meal where they pretend to be happy with the quiet life, but are hating every minute, which is supposed to be funny, but it's just depressing. We then move to an archaeological dig in China where Alex, remember the annoying little kid from the last film, is now all grown up and doing what his parents are pining for. Also allowing evil supernatural beings to be released on the world, also like his parents. But I guess the last film was good practice for him. And after greeting his friend and mentor with some water, the diggers find the entrance to the titular tomb. But enough of that. Back to some woman I don't recognise failing to write a book. I'm not saying Rachel Weisz is the be-all and end-all, and I'm not saying you can't recast a character. After all, The Dark Knight did it perfectly well. But here, I don't know if it's the writing or the actress is just bad, but she has no connection to the character. She feels like a different person because she's being played like a different person, so as such, couldn't give a fuck about her. There's also a cringeworthy scene of non-Evie sexing herself up for O'Connell using some sexy talk.
Do you remember the time the mummy had me tied down? And you came to save me and you you tore open the ropes is what you did. Just as he was about to plunge his... Oh, rats.
Ha! Their marriage is sexless and unfulfilling. Because, that's a funny joke for kids. Back in China, Alex has gone into the tomb and inside there are deadly traps, like this crusher. And also a corpse who they recognise as the man who previously tried to find the tomb. Which doesn't really explain why the tomb was buried so deep they needed to use dynamite to get into it. And having activated one trap and seen another man's dead body, they naturally walk through blindly tripping whatever they can. Firstly, the ceiling, revealing the statues. Then, while walking through the statues, one of them activates an acid trap, because the first movie had an acid trap, so this one needs it too. And then an arrow trap starts firing, killing another one of them. And the last of the no-named members of the team is killed by a flying saw blade. Now, to give the film some more credit, the arrow traps shown are similar to arrow traps found protecting the real terracotta warriors. The rest is complete bullshit, though. And I don't mean to insinuate anything here, but 5 guys go into the tomb, 2 white guys, 3 Chinese guys. And who are the ones dying immediately? I'll leave that there. Getting to the centre of the room, Alex notices a Feng Shui compass because it's Chinese, so there needs to be Feng Shui in there somewhere. And he realises the needle doesn't point north, and they arrange the platform correctly. But as we've established, these are the least careful Tomb Raiders ever, so the floor opens with Alex falling through to the chamber below. Alex falls directly onto the Emperor's horse and tells the Professor, who gets a roundhouse kick to the head, and the assailant makes their way down to where Alex is and they start fighting. This movie has no imagination of its own, so it'll be no surprise to anyone that this person is protecting the tomb and trying to prevent the Emperor from rising. So far, this film is just a rehash of The Mummy, combined with a depressingly crap portrayal of characters I liked. Alex fires at the assailant, shooting some of the ropes, causing the platform they're on to rise, and waits to come down, which Alex is pinned under, about to be crushed. A woman? That's impossible! Seriously, in a series known for strong, independent, good female characters, they really shouldn't resort to the shocking female warrior reveal. Back with O'Connell and his latest wife, a man has a mission for them, but they're retired and can't possibly be convinced to take the alright, they'll do it. And the mission is to take a gemstone, the Eye of Shangri-la, back to the Chinese museum. But fortunately for them, Jonathan owns a nightclub in China, so they can visit. Why did he decide to set up a nightclub in China of all places? It's not like he has any connection to the place, unlike Egypt, which he and Evie have a lot of history with, even outside of the movies. It's just a weak as fuck connection due to the laziness of the writer. And the club is called Imhotep's because naturally you would name your club after the evil murderer. Yeah, it's a good idea. In fact, you should check out my new club, Charlie Manson's. You'll be helter-skelter crazy for it. Inside the club, which is Egyptian-themed, naturally, Alex walks in with the local floozy asking him to buy her a drink. But Jonathan gets him to reconsider.
To put it in archaeological terms, that's the tomb in which many pharaohs have lain. Now listen.
Excuse me, okay? I have some excavation to do.
I do wonder what that pickup line will be. Hi, I'm an archaeologist, and your vagina is a tomb. It's then that O'Connell and Evie show up to surprise Jonathan, because carrying a priceless Chinese relic, you'd obviously go to the bar first. And Alex is catapulted through a door, with O'Connell grabbing the fist of the guy attacking Alex. And they know each other from Egypt. Also, he can fly a plane. Yeah, you can see where that's going. O'Connell diffuses the situation and they talk to Alex.
No offense, Mom, but we haven't been a family in a long time.
Hey, don't you turn your back on me, Alex!
Well, he's an ungrateful prick. It's not like O'Connell saved his life or anything in the last film. And so we go from the pretty well-adjusted and happy family to the depressing, hating life and each other family of this film. Which is a pathetic attempt at writing an arc for the family to reconnect at the end that doesn't need to be there.
You're the one that's always smothering him. You couldn't leave him alone for 5 minutes without wiping his nose.
Perhaps I was overcompensating for the fact that you never took an interest in his life.
His life was my top priority.
Yeah, that sounds like the Evie and O'Connell of the last film, with Evie smothering him despite letting him go on digs with her, and O'Connell not taking an interest despite caring a hell of a lot in the last film. Fuck these people. They are not Evie and O'Connell, simple as that. The film then shifts to our bad guys for the movie, a general and his army of soldiers. But no mention of whether the Chinese government has ordered them to resurrect the Emperor, or they're a rogue military faction. The uniforms would make me think the former, though. Our heroes get to the museum with Alex showing them the Emperor's tomb, and O'Connell tries to be more encouraging.
This is all really, really big stuff.
I guess he's severely emotionally stunted in this film too. And as Alex goes to find the Professor, he spots the woman from the tomb and follows her. The Professor greets O'Connell and Evie and he asks for the gem, which O'Connell is annoying and reckless with. And then the General appears with the Professor pulling a gun, and he says the General financed him, and the Professor was the one to ask for O'Connell and Evie to bring the eye. Why did he specifically need Evie and O'Connell? Well, they're gonna tell you.
The inscription says that only a drop of blood from a person of pure heart can open the eye.
Only the pure of heart will sacrifice themselves for the one they love.
Are you fucking kidding me? The pure of heart? That's one of the oldest and crappiest cliches in the book. What happened to a key? Or is that the Egyptian thing? I guess the ancient Chinese designed their mystical devices around shit movie writers should never write. Alex finds the woman overlooking what's going on, and she tells Alex what's happening. And down below, the female officer slices Evie's finger and drips blood on the gem. To be honest, that was a cool effect. It's a bit extravagant considering it only does it once and for a single purpose. The rest of the time it's just a gem. O'Connell gets the tomb open and the General approaches with the gem to resurrect the Emperor. But then Alex and the woman swing in. With Alex taking out the Professor and the woman, Lynn, hits the General, causing the gem to fall and the liquid inside to splash on the statue behind him. Lynn stabs the corpse in the tomb, and after the bad guys are subdued, she realises the body is a decoy. And there goes the only corpse in this film that could be considered a mummy. And you did see that right. The fact that they saved the day actually caused the Emperor to rise. Now, yes, in The Mummy, the main characters were the reason for the film's events, but they weren't trying to stop it at the time. In this film, it's all down to incompetence. So the Emperor, who's encased in the statue, breaks out, and I guess the horses were cursed too, which is kinda unfair for them, really. But wait, we need a line for the trailer.
Here we go again.
Thanks for that, Brendan. The General pledges his allegiance to Jet Li, and climbing on the carriage, the Professor tries to do the same thing. And well, it doesn't work out for him.
You wait for me! I'm coming with you!
I have to wonder what he honestly expected to happen. And come to think of it, outside of money, we weren't given a reason for his actions anyway, so his character was no great loss. The Emperor breaks out of the museum with Lynn and Alex hanging onto the bottom of the cart, and O'Connell and Evie commandeer a truck, and picking up Jonathan, we can now have a chase sequence, cause the first two films had one, so this needs one too. In the truck, O'Connell finds a firework and fires it at the Emperor, but he just kicks it away. Holy shit! That tram had people in it! They're fucking dead! Way to go, O'Connell! Saviour of humanity, everybody! And back on the truck, Jonathan's arse is on fire. That's the level we're working at here. Gone is the funny and clever dialogue from Jonathan. No, it's all reduced to him screaming, "Spank my ass." Alex and Lynn manage to climb up on the carriage, and Not Evie literally drives through a brick wall to end up in front of the Emperor, which O'Connell then jumps on one of the porcelain horses, cutting it free and using it to try and get Alex off the carriage. But the Emperor just causes the horse to go crazy and then decapitate itself. The Emperor sets fire to the fireworks on the truck, forcing them to back off from the carriage, but Lynn and Alex have a plan to kill the Emperor.
I'll go after the Emperor!
Trust me, I got a little more experience with mummies!
And I have the only weapon that can kill him!
Right, Bridget, you know what to do.
That's convenient.
And yeah, no matter how many times you say it, it doesn't make him a mummy. Because he's not. The general shoots Lynn and the Emperor just tears his face off and throws it at Alex. The Emperor can create fire, but no, he thinks throwing his face is the best option. Lynn helps Alex up, saying the general missed his shot, and the cart is decoupled from the horses, with the Emperor making ice on the road. But the tomb continues sliding down the road anyway, so maybe the ice wasn't needed. And the cart meets up with Evie and Jonathan as they jump from the truck, and then the obligatory final explosion. Ooh, wasn't that exciting, boys and girls? No, it wasn't. In fact, it was painfully dull, with not much of consequence happening outside of shooting and explosions, which is pretty much the default setting for shitty action movies. Back at the club, while O'Connell ices his balls, keep raising that bar, Mummy 3, Lynn explains what's going on, that she's got the knife to kill the Emperor, and they need to stop him from reaching Shangri-La and drinking from the Fountain of Youth, and the diamond that the Emperor still has will point the way. So yeah, stop the evil superpowered guy with the magical MacGuffin from gaining more power and raising an army. Isn't that the plot to The Mummy Returns? Speaking of rehashing old plots, O'Connell has got another one of his friends to fly them somewhere, the guy from the bar, and it's established that Mad Dog, that's his name, lives up to that title and practically nosedives the plane so they can land on the mountain. Mummy 3 summed up in one image. A vomiting yak. The plane does manage to land, but only barely, and they make their way up the mountain with Mad Dog on lookout. He spots the general's plane below and informs O'Connell, and halfway up the mountain they decide to camp for the night.
She certainly managed to enchant you. You obviously like her.
Seriously, you gonna bring that up now? Oh well, I guess Alex is gonna have to save her at some point, and he can't do that unless he wants to bang her first. But Alex does apologise.
Sorry I blamed you guys for raising the Emperor.
Yeah, because it was yours and Lynn's fault just as much as theirs. Both Alex and Lynn talk with the stupidest fucking dialogue ever, with them both saying they want nothing to do with each other.
You're not my type.
Of course not. You don't like a woman who can knock you on your backside.
Expression is kick my ass. For the record.
Because apparently, according to the writers of this film, trying to save the world from an evil claymation Jet Li is the same as fucking high school. Where did the adults go in this film? The next day they manage to reach the gateway that points to Shangri-La, and inside, Alex and O'Connell compare their pistols.
Have you ever seen a Walter P38?
It's pretty anemic compared to the Peacekeeper.
Well, it's not about size, Dad. It's about stamina.
It's called a peacemaker, moron. And yeah, I'm sure these sex jokes will work great for the kids in the audience. Jonathan interrupts this little bonding moment to ask what the plan is, which just amounts to shoot the hell out of the Emperor, and if it doesn't work, blowing up the pedestal where the gem is to be placed. Not sure why that's plan B. Why don't they just destroy the thing anyway? Oh yeah, we're only halfway through this bullshit, and we gotta stretch it out. And O'Connell insists on his plan because he knows better.
I put down more mummies in my time than you.
You put down one mummy, Dad.
Yeah, same mummy. Twice.
Yes, O'Connell has killed 2 mummies in his time. Shall we see how wrong he is with that number? Music, please. So O'Connell was completely wrong on 2 counts. That's the level of attention to detail the filmmakers put into this garbage. They set up dynamite on the dome and get ready for a fight as the general's men approaches the gate, and the shooting begins with bazookas no less. I guess they don't mind causing an avalanche or 3. But in a rather surprising amount of skill, Alex and O'Connell shoot up the bazookas, causing them to explode, and O'Connell tells Jonathan to blow up the dome, but he's forced to run from the gunfire. Then comes one of the stupidest parts of the film, as Lynn shouts to the mountains and she calls the Yetis. Yes, there are Yetis in the film now, and they show up to help and beat up the soldiers in ridiculous ways. Like this, for example. Because Tibetan Yetis watch the NFL. Alex is attacked and being choked, but the guy is grabbed by a Yeti, and then he has the stupid idea to try and punch the Yeti in the face, so he just chucks him down the stairs. Jonathan manages to light the dynamite, but the Emperor shows up getting shot in the face, and then causing ice spikes to appear, forcing everyone to back away from the dome. And the Emperor does some kind of sonic blast, which makes the Yetis run off as well. And for his last trick, he makes the snow fall on the dynamite, stopping it from going off. The Emperor makes his way up the dome with the gem. Alex draws his fire, and O'Connell gets on the dome and starts shooting, because that's done wonders so far. But the Emperor just makes more ice and causes him to fall off. He manages to get the gem in place, and it points the way to Shangri-La, although I have to wonder what a marker in a vague direction would do to find a specific place already hidden from view. And Alex, using a grenade strapped to dynamite, because there's no such thing as too much of a bang, starts to throw it at the mountain to cause an avalanche, but the Emperor throws his sword at Alex, but O'Connell pushes him out of the way, getting the sword in his back so deep it comes out the other side. Oh no, O'Connell's been stabbed, that's horrible. He might actually die. And this is absolutely nothing like the time in the last film when Evie was stabbed and actually did die but managed to come back to life. So this time he might actually die, because they wouldn't just redo the exact same thing for some cheap drama and to pad out the film some more. No, of course not. The dynamite goes off and everyone takes cover as the avalanche starts, but the Emperor, using his powers, keeps the snow at bay, until Lynn jumps at him with the dagger, forcing him to shift his concentration to stop her, and with the Yetis, who pop out of nowhere, help to cover up our heroes as the snow hits, with the Emperor and the General being seemingly thrown off the mountain. The Yetis pull everyone out of the snow, with O'Connell needing urgent medical attention, so they walk with the Yetis carrying O'Connell all the way to Shangri-La, which means it's not very far from the gateway, which is a little superfluous to make the marker so close to what it's marking. They get inside Shangri-La and Alex rushes to the water, but is stopped by the witch from the start of the film, no less. And then, in a not very shocking reveal, Lynn is the witch's daughter, also immortal like her mother. And in the very next scene, O'Connell is pretty much healed, so that was a waste of time. Lynn is talking to her mother and Alex shows up to be told first that Lynn is 2,000 years old, she's looking good, and that the Emperor must not get to the pool because then he'll be able to raise his army. Why can't the Emperor raise his army now? He's pretty much got all his powers, he's just made out of clay. Unless the waters have other abilities that's not stated, which would just be shitty writing, so don't count it out. The waters make you immortal, so why would they give the Emperor powers he doesn't already have? Maybe it was the curse that did something. But, again, I'm just guessing here because the movie doesn't tell you. And Lynn tells Alex that they can't be together because she'll live forever and he'll die. Boo fucking who. Meanwhile, O'Connell wakes up fully healed, but still having a scar. I guess the Fountain of Youth can't heal everything. Or maybe it just thinks scars look cool. And O'Connell and Alex have that making up all a family again resolution crap I said they would. Yay for cliches. Lynn's mother asks her to make a final sacrifice to defeat the Emperor.
That's convenient.
Oh, no time for that, Bridget, as the Emperor attacks with a fireball, sending Lynn and her mother flying. He even takes the dagger to ensure the movie lasts another 30 fucking minutes. And then he enters the pool, giving him immortality. Ah! Horrible CGI, Jet Li! Ah! There's 3 of them. And they turn into a dragon because the fountain does that now. The Emperor's powers are so nebulous and ill-defined, who the fuck knows? And the Emperor takes Lynn with him so Alex, like father like son, can save the damsel in distress. She was a powerful female character, but the man needs to do the saving now. Everyone gets to where the Emperor is raising his army, and the witch tells them that if the Emperor's army makes it past the Great Wall, they'll be immortal. No fucking idea why, again, but we need an arbitrary marker for success or defeat for the final battle. Also, it honestly feels like Evie and O'Connell are completely unnecessary for this final battle. It feels like Lynn and her mother are the main characters, with the usual main characters as supporting roles. They will save the day, but right now, it feels like a completely different movie. The Emperor is greeted by his small amount of soldiers, and with our heroes watching, Alex runs in to save Lynn. The Emperor raises his army as they all march out from underground. However, Lynn's mother has an army of her own up her sleeve. Using the Oracle Bones, she calls for the people killed by the Emperor to raise up and fight him. And you know she's the good guy, because she speaks in English.
Open the gates of the past, and free the souls of the wrongfully dead.
While the Emperor addresses his troops in Chinese. And to give you the gist of what he's saying...
I'm nobody's bitch! You are mine.
Yeah, pretty much. The zombie army, because they're not fucking mummies, enter the battlefield with General Ming from the start leading the way. And Alex saves Lynn, who's tied up so stereotypically she might as well be on train tracks. So battle begins between the two CGI armies. Big woman! Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's already dead, mate. The Emperor finds Lynn's mother on the battlefield and they begin to fight, with what would be well done fight choreography, but as the editing is so quick and sporadic, you can't really see it. The Emperor disarms Lynn's mother, but she catches his sword and then impales herself on it, so she can grab the dagger from him. Can't help thinking there were simpler ways of doing that, but oh well. And of course, as I said before, so much of the action is happening completely independently to our supposedly main characters. O'Connell and Not Evie are cornered by the Clay Warriors, and they pretty much resign themselves to fighting to the death. And Jonathan flies in, gunning down soldiers, until the Emperor turns into some kind of monster thing, grabbing the plane, forcing it to back off. O'Connell and Not Evie are exhausted and can't fight much longer, but Alex and Lynn show up on bikes to gun down all the warriors, saving the day. So that was easily solved. Lynn finds her mother near death, who gives her the dagger just before actually dying. Which would be sad, but frankly, if you get more than 1,000 years, you've had a good run. The general and his female officer are driving around shooting, but Jonathan throws a bomb and manages to completely destroy the truck. Which should be the end of them, but it's not. And inside the magic chamber, the Emperor is playing with his balls. No idea what they're supposed to be or what he's doing, because the movie doesn't tell us, again. But he somehow causes the good soldiers to be thrown backwards, until Alex shoots the Emperor in his balls, stopping whatever he was doing. Too many ball jokes? Yeah, sorry. But I do wonder just what the hell he was doing. Was he doing something to the planet? If so, then Alex shooting them was probably not so good. Seriously, I didn't skip anything. He just goes into the chamber and starts playing with his balls. It's just flashy effects for the sake of it. Alex and the Emperor fight, with him turning into that monster thing again, and O'Connell jumps in, stabbing the Emperor with the dagger, but he missed the heart, and the dagger is thrown, breaking the blade. And with Not Evie and Lynn, they're attacked by the general and his female officer. See, I told you they somehow survived. But Lynn knocks the general into a cog, and his female officer, rather randomly, grabs him and goes into the cog with him. Who knew she was that stupidly loyal? I certainly didn't, and I saw the fucking film. Back in the magic chamber, the Emperor and O'Connell fist fight, because we gotta get more of Jet Li's martial arts. It's what he's paid for, after all. And Alex wakes up, taking one part of the dagger, leaving O'Connell the message of divide. So O'Connell distracts the Emperor with punches to the face, so Alex can jump in from behind to stab him in the back. And O'Connell through the front, killing the Emperor, who explodes because he can't just die. That's not flashy enough. The Clay army collapses, and the general and his troops celebrate before disappearing as well. And back at Imhotep's, Alex and Lynn are together because of course they fucking are. And the film ends with a painfully crap joke of Jonathan leaving for Peru away from, as he says, mummies, with the subtitles no less telling us mummies were found in Peru shortly after. Couldn't even be fucking bothered to make another graphic for that last bit. Nah, just use the subtitles, it's fucking cheaper. So that was The Mummy, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor. And it's certainly not the best in the... I'm sorry, I just can't justify this film with that kind of summary. This is not only a fucking awful film, it's not even a film. This thing is made by executives to leech money out of a franchise with as little effort or creativity as possible. It has no redeeming features whatsoever. The story is all rehash and cliche on top of a Chinese setting which had potential if it was done right. And I don't know if it's the writing, but both Brendan Fraser and Maria Bello are acting terribly in this film. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they didn't give a shit. This film can't be enjoyed if you have a brain, because that's what it is, brainless action and explosions. But to be honest, all the characters are so different and crap, I'm just going to ignore it and hope it goes away. I'll take The Mummy Returns any day over this shit. So the Mummy series just kind of went out on a whimper there, didn't it? But I think I've been putting this off too long because next week I've got some unfinished business. See you next time.